It was another game week full of goals, drama and very controversial refereeing decisions in League 2. So in today's video, we're going to go through and round up all 12 of the matches from game week 32. If you do go on to enjoy, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. 80 likes as always would be massively appreciated. And let's get straight into it. We'll start firstly then with the Thursday night kickoff between Port Vale and Notts County. A big promotion 6-pointer, and Port Vale punished Notts for their amount of chances that they missed, especially in that first half, but there was some real body on the line, brilliant saves from Ben Amos, type defending from Port Vale. They just got the job done. The goal was such a scrappy one really. Laurent Talai crosses into the box and Zach Johnson just completely leaves Ronan Curtis. He brings it down on his chest and it's a really instinctive finish. I think Alex Bass will be disappointed as the ball obviously does go through his legs, but Notts County had a plethora of very good chances, especially in that first half. Late on in the game, their new signing Traore had a free header just maybe 3 yards out and it comes back off of the crossbar. I think the promising signs are still there for Notts County. All the stats are still in their favour. I know some of their fans recently have started to get a bit frustrated with Conor Grant, Curtis Edwards, but I look at the statistics, the chances they created. On another day, Notts County could potentially win that game pretty comfortably. But Port Vale, I'm sure they're going to be very happy to pick up yet another 3 points at home. It now puts them firmly back in the automatic promotion race as well. Notts County dropped down to 4th in the table, but you look, Bradford City have played a game more than both of these sides. If they win their game in hand, then they would obviously leapfrog us back into 3rd and then 4th respectively. So I think Notts County, they've been on a very good run of form recently, and to go away to Port Vale, a promotion rival, without a couple of your best players in the likes of Jody Jones not playing, there was no David McGoldrick as well, and put in a real solid performance. I don't think they can complain all too much. I'm not worried about Notts County. I still think they'll go on and achieve automatic promotion. Again though, for Port Vale, they've got the job done. Their home form recently has started to improve a lot as well. They are only 10th, but you look, 3 straight wins, 5 unbeaten at least at home, and they've only lost twice at home all season. Notts County though, the best away team in the division so far this campaign, so they will be a little bit disappointed with that one, but on the whole I think it's obviously a very good result for Port Vale, but Notts fans I certainly wouldn't be panicking yet. It was a day to forget for Joe Olowu and Doncaster Rovers as they were defeated again, this time by Grimsby Town, who recently have certainly made a real push for promotion this season, and to go away to Doncaster Rovers and pick up all 3 points, a big credit to David Artell's side. The first goal is just great play I think from Jordan Bickwoo, I think, where he just completely spins Joe Olowu and finishes past the Doncaster goalkeeper. The second goal is absolutely crazy though, as I think Grimsby potentially have got a really good shout for a penalty. The referee says no, the ball eventually falls to Svan Thorson, I believe, and he dribbles past a few Doncaster players, pokes towards goal, and it comes off of Joe Olowu, hits the underside of the crossbar and bounces over the right line if you are a Grimsby supporter. And you're looking 2-0 just after half time. Obviously, it's definitely not job done, but you're then in a very good position. I'm sure there was a few nervy fans in that away end as Rob Street would convert from a Luke Molyneux cross. A really good header, to be fair, just completely wrong foots the Grimsby goalkeeper, and another goal contribution for Luke Molyneux and another goal for Rob Street, but it wasn't enough for them to completely get back into the game, and that obviously now does drop Doncaster down to 6th in the table after back-to-back defeats. They've played one more game than a lot of the teams above them as well, and now Grimsby are only 1 point off of the playoffs. They've won 3 on the bounce, 10 points picked up out of that last possible 12. Crewe and Salford only having 1 win in their last 10 between them. Things are certainly looking very good and promising for David Artell's side. Another goal from Matty Stevens secured another 3 points for Johnny Jackson's AFC Wimbledon in the other Saturday early kickoff. Now the goal, I think it's very controversial in all honesty. I believe there's a foul from Marcus Brown on John Taylor. Now when he pokes the ball through to Matty Taylor, that's not a foul, obviously it's just a heavy touch, but then as Taylor's then going to turn, it's very clear that Marcus Brown does pull back John Taylor. Some would say it's soft, and you've definitely seen referees give them, but when luck is on your side, which it clearly is with AFC Wimbledon at the moment, that's just the type of luck that you do get. And then obviously Salford City, it's not really been going their way, and they don't get the rub of the green. But another job done for Wimbledon. I would say they certainly had the better chances of the game as well. And Matty Stevens still had a full length of the pitch to run, and he converted it past the Salford keeper very nicely. James Tilley hit the post as well in the second half. In terms of the statistics, you can see Wimbledon did deserve to win the football match. There's no taking away from them. Yes, they had slightly less possession, but way more XG, way more shots on target, all that sort of stuff as well. So yes, Wimbledon deserved to win in the manner they won it. Maybe slightly controversial. Let me know your thoughts down in the comment section down below. But Johnny Jackson's side are now in a really, really good place to secure automatic promotion. Only 20 goals conceded so far this season. Another clean sheet for them once again. There's now a 2-point gap between them and fourth. The teams below them don't really have a game in hand on them either. They're at least 5 games unbeaten as well. Their home form so far this season has been absolutely excellent. Third in the table in terms of their home form. As for Salford though, it's just not been going great for them recently. A couple of very frustrating draws. They got a win against Tranmere, but then it's back to another game without a win for them. Now 1 point off of the playoffs with a game in hand on Crewe in all fairness, but with Grimsby hot on their tails, and you've got some teams down here slowly picking up momentum as well. Could maybe Salford City squeeze that 7th place spot? They're going to need to pick up some consistency and turn their recent bad run of form around. But on the whole, a good win again for AFC Wimbledon. They're in a really strong place now to secure automatic promotion in my opinion. Walsall finally got back to winning ways at the hands of Chesterfield FC. Now, I would like to start with in chronological order, but just watching the highlights back, the third goal that Walsall scored, I know it's in the 101st minute, but the number 2 for Chesterfield, will it say here, this Shackelford, if I'm a Chesterfield fan, I'm never wanting him to play for my football club again. What I've just witnessed there is an absolute disgrace from the Chesterfield number 2. He basically plays a ball down the line, it goes straight to a Walsall player, and he just completely gives up. He just stands there, lets the Walsall player run straight past him. They then cross it into the box, and it's 3-1. I could not believe what I've just watched there. I'm in genuine shock, but away from that, great for Walsall to finally get back to winning ways with a controversial refereeing decision as well for the second goal, but we'll go through in chronological order. Chesterfield opened the scoring on 8 minutes, a well-worked set-piece routine to be fair, and a great header from Jamie Grimes, and you're thinking Walsall, they're losing again, this will be 6 games without a win for them, but they did manage to turn it around. Jamil Matt scoring from a set play. It was a bit of a scrappy goal, but he's proven to be a very good goal scorer so far this season. And then a couple of minutes later, Walsall rewarded a corner for what looks to me like a clear badge in the back on the Chesterfield player. It should be a free kick. The referee doesn't give it. Then it is Ellis Harrison who does convert. Again, I think the Chesterfield keeper will be a little bit disappointed with that one. And obviously, Amanchi wraps up the game in the 101st minute, but I did just briefly mention there. Absolutely embarrassing from the Chesterfield number 2. I'm sure some of their fans will be rightfully absolutely furious with the way he just completely gave up. But in terms of the Saddlers, they obviously hadn't won at 4 or 5 matches, so I'm sure they're going to be delighted with that. Their gap could have been closed to only the 5 points if they had have lost this game, which they were obviously on course to do after 8 minutes, with the team in second having a game on hand of them. So it's great for them to finally get back to winning ways. Now 8 points clear of second place, having played a game more. 10 points clear of fourth, again having played a game more than them as well. But they needed to get back to winning ways after such a horrible run of form. Will this just be a slight blip really, and will they go on and start dominating teams like what they've done for the majority of this season, or will this just be a one-off and they'll go back on another poor run of form? I guess only time will tell, but I'm sure it's a bit of a relief for the Saddlers fans to finally get back to winning ways. In terms of Chesterfield, again, it's just that inconsistency which is going to see them probably miss out on the playoffs this season. It's very draw, win, loss, win, loss. They're so inconsistent. They're 10th in the table, but they've got 11 wins, 9 draws, 10 defeats. Very, very inconsistent. 7 points off the playoffs, granted with 2 games in hand on Crewe at this moment in time, but I really do think they lack the consistency to go into that top 7. They go at home to Doncaster, smash them 5-2, and then I know on paper away at Walsall should be the toughest game of the season, but we have seen Walsall on a really bad run of form recently, and Chesterfield did fail to capitalise on that. Again, it's another game they've gone ahead in and failed to win. They're struggling to see games out, and I'm sure Paul Cook will be a bit frustrated with how this season's gone for them so far, but brilliant win for the Saddlers to get back to winning ways. MK Dons failed to win once again as they drew away to one of the worst teams we've seen in League 2 so far this season. Tranmere rescued a point with just over 10 minutes left on the clock. The score was opened by Danilo Orsi, and it was a very scrappy goal to be fair. The Tranmere side centre-half, tries to head it back to the keeper. His header obviously is a bit too short. Also then goes for the lob over Luke McGee. I assume it was Luke McGee in the Tranmere goal. Let me just double check. Yeah, it was Luke McGee in goal. He gets a hand to it, kind of palms it up in the air, but by that point, the Tranmere players have already given up. If they hadn't have given up, they could have got back and cleared it, and it's that type of mentality that they have struggled with so far this season. But also then has a open goal to head it into, and he gives it to the Tranmere fans. Obviously, if you're doing that, you have to win the football match. They didn't, so I'm sure he looks a little bit silly now, but Tranmere were awarded a penalty with around 10 minutes left on the clock. They could have had a few, to be fair. The referee obviously not very interested until somebody was physically assaulted inside the penalty area, and it was a pretty poor penalty, to be fair, from Luke Norris. If the keeper guesses the right way, then he's comfortably saving that, but it's found the back of the net. He's got the job done, and they've picked up another point, with teams below them now catching points. And obviously, with Morecambe picking up another win, the gap is now only 2 points, so it is important that Tranmere do pick up the odd points against these type of teams. But MK Dons, absolutely horrible form. 1 point picked up at their last possible 12 available, down to 16th in the table. I think serious questions now need to be asked about Scott Lindsay. They, on paper, have the best squad in the entire division, but they're absolutely awful. Look at some of the players that they've got in this team and the wages that they must be spending on some of these players, like to Dan Crowley, Alex Gilby, Scott Hogan. These are not going to be cheap players. Luke Offord, they brought in from a promotion rival in the summer. There's so many more as well who would be sat on the bench and sat at home as well, and they can't even beat Tranmere Rovers. And that's not a slight on Tranmere as a club. I think they're a pretty decent club, to be fair, but in terms of on the pitch, they're absolutely terrible. Their fans know it. Palios needs to sell. Nigel Adkins is clearly not a very good manager. They've only scored 22 goals so far this season, and they've gone away from home and struggled to beat them again. MK Dons, they're in a real bad spot of bother. Tranmere, they're not really in a much better place either, in all honesty. I am still concerned that they will be relegated this season, but just a good point for them, I guess. Newport County played out a 0-0 draw with my team at Bradford City, and there were some really baffling refereeing decisions in this game. I made a full match reaction over on the main channel, so make sure to go check that one out if you haven't already. But it was quite an action-packed start to the game. Newport had a decent chance or two. Courtney Baker-Richardson missed a sitter from 6 yards out, put it straight at Sam Walker. We score a very legitimate goal. Anthony Sarswick plays a ball into Michael Mellon. He then flicks it around the corner to Sarswick, who drills it into the back of the net. A really good finish from him, and the goal is disallowed for offside. The pass from Sarswick into Mellon originally, maybe Mellon's hand is offside, an absolute push, but he's clearly not offside. And then when Mellon plays it back to Sarswick, he actually has to run around the defender to get to the ball. So no one really knows who's offside there. It's a shocking decision from the officials. And then just a couple of minutes later, Jack Shepherd will be sent off for denial of a clear and obvious goal scoring opportunity. The ball was just in front of the halfway line. The Newport player did not have control of the ball, and Jack Shepherd wasn't even last man. It is an absolutely awful decision from the referee. He made a terrible decision on Tuesday to send the Crewe player off for, I don't even know what he really got sent off for. That's a type of foul that you see 10 times a game. Normally they're just not given. He's given another red card in this one. That official, I think it's Andrew Humphreys is his name, absolutely out of his depth, absolutely criminal. But we did really well then with 10 men. We moved to a 5-3-1 formation, and Newport just couldn't break us down. It actually suited Newport, us having 11 men, because they were creating chances. We were expansive, trying to press, and they were causing us problems. Then obviously when we go down to 10, we have to sit back, defend, be a little bit more solid, and Newport then just really did struggle to break us down. In terms of the league table then, it's not a great point in terms of context of the league table, but in isolation, I think it could prove to be a pretty valuable one, all things considered. Obviously, we are now still third in the table, but we have played a game more than the likes of Wimbledon, Notts County, Port Vale, and obviously if they win, they will extend their lead away from us in the table. So not ideal, but all things considered, it's not a bad point, especially when Newport have been off the back of 4 straight wins in a row. A point against them is not the end of the world, in all honesty, and I think I'll take that as long as we go on and beat MK Dons at home next week. Win your home games, draw your away games, you're going to end up finishing pretty solid somewhere come the end of the season. So not a bad point despite how bad the referee was. Morecambe picked up a massive 3 points, a very valuable 3 points at the hands of Accrington Stanley. They finally had a bit of luck go their way. Accrington hit the bar in the first half, and both the goals that Morecambe scored were just big errors from Accrington players. The first goal is assisted and scored by 2 former Bantams as well. Luke Hendry sends a pretty hopeful ball into the box, and all the Accrington players just seem to leave it for one another. Angle then comes in at the back post, heads it it past the oncoming Accrington goalkeeper for 1-0, and Morecambe and then really starting to believe. They got that killer goal to see the game off as Jan Songo swings in a left-footed cross into the box. It falls to Jed Garner. He takes a bit of a swipe towards goal and it just goes through the Accrington goalkeeper. But Morecambe, they've had all the luck go against them so far this season, so I'm delighted for them. They finally had a little bit going for them. I backed them to stay up at the start of the season. With the January additions that they brought in, a few strikers as well, they're going to start scoring goals. They're winning these type of matches against the teams that are down and around them. I really believe Morecambe will survive this season. In terms of Accrington, they're now dragged fully back into the relegation battle, just 4 points above the drop. Morecambe now only 2 points from safety with 2 wins from their last 4 matches. I think Carlisle are doomed, and I really do believe Tranmere will be joining them, but even Accrington could get dragged into it. Absolutely excellent though from the Shrimps. Harrogate Town put a stop to Swindon Town's recent excellent run of form with a brilliant 1-0 win. Now, there was an incident in the first half where Harrogate were awarded a penalty for what looked to be a pretty obvious foul from Connor Ripley, and then the referee had a word with the linesman and the penalty was then overturned, and the referee's reasoning for that was this. I didn't really understand it. Maybe there was a handball in the build-up, maybe there was an offside. I'm not entirely sure. If one of the Harrogate or Swindon fans can let me know down below what actually went on there, I'm not too sure. But thankfully, from a Harrogate point of view, they did still manage to get their job done from a corner. It was laid off to the edge of the box, then lowly drilled into the inside the penalty area where Jasper Moon would flick towards goal to secure the only goal of the game. Both sides then had some decent chances for some good saves from either goalkeeper, but Harrogate, these are just the type of results that Harrogate traditionally get. They'll lose and draw all the games that you don't really expect them to win, and then when they play, especially at home, against teams that are on a very good run of form or battling for promotion, they're the type of games that they really get up for and pick up points. It looked like quite an entertaining game, in honesty. Swindon dominated possession, but there was 31 shots, only 9 of them resulted on target though, so I'm sure they will be disappointed with that. In terms of Harrogate, again, they've just been chipping away at it so far this season, at now 7 points above the drop zone. Big win for them after they hadn't won for quite a while. Swindon, I'm sure they'll be very disappointed. That kills any probably hopes of them making it into the playoffs this season. They needed to go on an unbelievable run. They're now 11 points away from the playoffs, having played the same amount of games as 7th, and a lot of teams above them have a game in hand. In fact, every team between them and 7th all have at least one game in hand on them. So a bit frustrating, especially when Harrogate away is a game that you would like to be winning. Harrogate 7 points above the drop. I don't think they'll be dragged into it at the moment, but again, a lot of things could change in football. Swindon, they're well clear of relegation now, 12 points above the drop, so it's just about finishing strongly and building towards next season for them. But a brilliant 3 points for Simon Weaver's side. Gillingham played out a goalless draw against Crewe Alexandra. Now, the Gills did have the ball in the back of the net, but it was deemed to be a foul from Bradley Dack on the Crewe goalkeeper. I think it's very soft, in honesty. Goalkeepers are protected far too much in football. Obviously, Ryan Cooney did see red in the 75th minute, but I guess both sides will be happy with this. Clean sheet, something to build on for them after both sides have been in a really poor run of form recently. In terms of the statistics, it looked like, again, Gillingham had the better of the game. 19 shots to 9, 5 on target. It's just the 1 from Crewe. They're in a real spot of bother at the moment, are Crewe. I certainly see them slipping out of the playoffs. At least 5 games now without a win for them. They've played a game more than a lot of the teams in and around them as well. They're only 1 point inside of the playoffs. A couple of teams could leapfrog them if they win their game in hand. I think they're really missing Mickey Demetriou at this moment in time. Again, still not back for this one, but they did keep a clean sheet. They're now struggling to score goals, but you look at their front line, I don't think there is really many goals in there. They're currently missing Chris Long, Omar Bogle, not in the starting 11 as well. So worrying signs, I would say, for Crewe. I think at the moment, I don't see them finishing in the top 7, but I'm sure Gillingham are happy with the point. Something to build onto them, another clean sheet for them, and it does now leave the Gills 19th in the table, so it steered them away from relegation a little bit. It was only last week we were talking about them maybe being in a little bit of trouble, but 8 points above the drop, at least one game in hand, in some cases 2 around the teams around them as well. Yes, they're still not winning matches, but I don't see them going down this season, not at the moment anyway. Cheltenham and Barrow played out a brilliant 3-2 high-scoring dramatic affair. The Bluebirds went 2 goals up before the Robins completed the comeback in the second second half. The first goal was scored by Sam Foley, yet another assist for Ben Jackson, a great free kick into the box. The header from Foley wasn't the best, to be fair. I think the Cheltenham keeper will be very disappointed that he hasn't saved it. Ben Whitfield doubled their advantage just after half-time, a brilliant finish, and that man knows where the back of the net is in League Two. He's done it for years with Barrow, now back on loan for the remainder of this season, and I think he's going to be a big player for them. I think they will eventually steer away from relegation, but defensively, some of the goals they conceded. A brace from Matty Taylor inside at 10 minutes, just sloppy defending from Barrow, but two clinical finishes from the former Oxford United man, and then it would be Ashley Hay who would complete the comeback for the Robins. A cross comes into the box from the kind of near touchline side, and again Barrow's defensive ability is just not really there at the moment. They're normally very organised, or have been over the last couple of seasons, but are another really sloppy goal to concede. In terms of Cheltenham though, I'm sure they'll be very happy to have turned that around. They are one of the better home teams in the division so far this season, the fourth best home team in the league. It now puts them up to 13th in the table. Again, 8 points off the playoffs. We've seen stranger things happen. They have got a couple of games in hand, but it's just these inconsistent, like a 2-0 loss away at Fleetwood. If you nick a point there, I'd be a bit more confident about them getting into the playoffs, but I think it's certainly about building for the long term. After back-to-back defeats for Barrow, it is another away defeat for them. They've been very strong under Andy Wing at home, but away from home, they have really struggled. Carlisle played out a goalless draw against Colchester, something again for them to build on. With teams around them picking up points, it is crucial though they start turning a few of these draws into wins, some of the losses into draws as well. It's a clean sheet, something for them to build on once again under Mike Hughes. They finally picked up their first point under him. It wasn't the most entertaining of games. Both keepers made some decent save. Gabe Breeze was definitely the man of the match for the home team, where again they have struggled to convert their chances. 12 shots at 5 on target. Again though, no goals for them. They've got a fair few different attacking options. They've got a very good attacking plethora of players really. I know that Williams at right back had a really bad game, but Gabe Breeze, like I mentioned earlier, did make some good saves. They've got decent options at the top end of the pitch, but it's just not quite working for them at this moment in time. Colchester, I'm sure they'll be a bit frustrated that they haven't won this football match. They are now 8 points off the playoffs, again with a couple of games in hand. If I'm saying Cheltenham could maybe do it, so could Colchester as well. At least 5 games unbeaten for them. It maintains their unbeaten run, but 14 draws out of 30 matches so far this season is the reason why they're not higher up in the table. Carlisle, I still think they're down. They're 6 points from safety. Yes, they've finally picked up a point, but they've only won 5 games all season, only scored 23 goals. It's clear to see where their problems are. I don't see them surviving whatsoever, and I don't think this point really helps them too much. It is something for them to build on, but at this stage in the season, it's not really about building on things. You know, you need to be getting results. You need to be winning football matches like what Morecambe are doing. It has now dragged Accrington and Tranmere into the relegation battle once again, and I don't know what fixtures Carlisle have got coming up, but I certainly wouldn't be confident if I was I was going to say Bluebirds, definitely not a Bluebirds fan, a Blues fan to be surviving this season, so I'm sure they'll be a bit disappointed with that one in all honesty. Bromley continued their good run of form with a 1-0 win at home to Fleetwood Town. I feel like a result like this kills any playoff hopes that the Cods did have coming into the game. It wasn't the most entertaining of matches, but the goal that Bromley scored is just a massive amount of mistakes from Fleetwood. The second half kicks off, and within about 3 passes, Fleetwood kicked off in the second half. Within 3 passes, the ball is in the back of the Fleetwood net. Michael Cheek with the goal. Again, another one for him. He's proven to be a goal scorer so far this season, and that's what he did again in this one. Fleetwood didn't really offer much. They had a couple of decent chances in the second half. Phoenix Patterson, I certainly think, was a bit of a bright spot for them, forced a decent save, and they had a header from close range, well saved by the Bromley goalkeeper. But I think, again, it's just a good result for Bromley. They are now only 7 points off the playoffs with a game in hand on 7th place. They've picked up 7 points out of their last possible 9 available. They were also 3-0 up in this game against Salford and bottled it, so I'm sure they'll be frustrated with that one. But Fleetwood, again, just massively inconsistent at this moment in time, similar to Chesterfield in the terms of a win, a loss, a win, a draw and a loss. It's just not really good enough. When you look at, they beat Walsall, they beat Cheltenham, but then they've lost to Morecambe, they've also lost to Carlisle, lost to Bromley, drawn with Tranmere. They're just lacking that consistency at the moment. They're struggling for goals, I would say, a little bit as well. I don't really think they've got many players at the top end of the pitch who can score, who are currently fit. Ryan Graydon's never really been that man. Phoenix Patterson's definitely not a striker, and obviously their main man this season, I think, is out for the remainder of this campaign. His name escapes me off the top of my head. Not Ryan Graydon, Ronan Coughlin. he's the man that I'm on about. But a brilliant 3 points for Bromley, and yeah, I'm sure Fleetwood will be a bit frustrated again with this one. It's a long way to go for the Cods fans as well, so to not even see a goal, there's no worse scoreline than to go travel all the way down to Bromley from Fleetwood and lose 1-0. And your team not play amazing, so I feel a bit sorry for them from that point of view. But anyway, I'm going to leave it there then for today's video. If you have enjoyed it, don't forget to drop a like on there for me and subscribe to the channel as well if you are new. Can we try and hit 80 likes as always on today's video? That'd be massively appreciated. Don't forget to get your thoughts in down in the comment section down below on your team's result, performance, who do you think is going up, who do you think is going down? Let me know all that sort of stuff down below. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you very soon for another one.